want us to go straight into talking about investment in Ghana, investment opportunities in Ghana. If you can educate us, what are the opportunities? What are the types of investment that people can do? And this is not even just limited to people in Ghana. There are people in the diaspora that would want to invest back home for long term or for short term. Some plan on moving back to Ghana. So I think this will be some useful information for all of us. So,
Okay.
if you are here, kindly share the link, invite your friends. Let's not be stingy with information. Let's share and educate our community. Yeah, so thank you. You can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. Um, and thank you, Joy, for the opportunity. So, I'm going to run through a number of investments that we have in Ghana. Some of the investments may not be peculiar to Ghana, but I will focus more on what happens and pertains to Ghana. The first thing we need to understand is that every investment carry a level of risk. And sometimes when we hear of investment, we think that it shouldn't come with any risks. So I put in my money into something and I expect to get the same amount of money with some interest, and there shouldn't be any possibility of I losing that particular money. If you run with that kind of mindset, then I will not advise you to do any kind of investment. So just keep your money in your account, and that will be a good option for you. However, if you keep your money in your account as well, there's a risk that you don't know of, and that's the risk of inflation. And that means that if you are not earning anything on the money that you have now, inflation will mean that what you can use the money to do tomorrow will not be the same. So that's a risk that you take, even if you decide that you're not going to invest. So by all means, you need to invest. And if you are investing, then we have to look at the options available in Ghana, whether you are Ghanaian based in Ghana or you are outside the country. So I'll progress the types of investment from the low risk to high risk. So when you say an investment is low risk, what it basically means is that the possibility of you losing your money is very low. It is not zero. So let's keep that in mind. It's low but not zero. So in Ghana, if you want to run low risk investment, basically you have to run it through the banks or financial institutions. And the two main low risk investment that at the moment you may want to consider has to do with treasury bills and then fixed deposit. Now, treasury bill, as we all know, it runs the same way across every country. Is giving your money to the government, and the government promising you some returns on that amount of money. So it's like government is sitting somewhere. Government needs money to do something. You give your money to government, and the government promises you some returns at the end of a particular period. However, you can't go to, let's say, Flagstaff House and go and give your money to the president. The president, by the state, has been given the mandate to run treasury bills through the Ministry of Finance and then Bank of Ghana. So Bank of Ghana is the one that acts as the intermediary to help people to buy treasury bills. Again, as an individual investor like you and I, we can't walk to Bank of Ghana to buy treasury bills directly. So Bank of Ghana has also licensed people they call primary dealers. To make it very simplified, the banks. Banks have been licensed by Bank of Ghana to help you and I to be an investor when it comes to treasury bills. So you buy the treasury bills through your bank, and the money goes to Bank of Ghana, from Bank of Ghana to Ministry of Finance. So that is the chain of treasury bills. So if you want to buy treasury bill, that's the first low risk investment that we have in Ghana. So you just have to open an account with your local bank, and then you run that account and then buy the investment. The key thing we need to understand here is that for treasury bills or any investment within the financial system in Ghana at the moment, you will need a Ghana card to do that. So if you don't have a Ghana card, treasury bills, fixed deposit, stocks, you struggle to do any of them. So once you have a Ghana card, then you can buy the treasury bills through your bank. We have a number of durations when it comes to treasury bill. It's a short-term investment. In finance, when you say something is short-term, it means it's within 1 year. Any investment within 1 year is short-term. So you can either go for a 3 month period, you can go for a 6 month period, or you can go for a 1 year period. What it means is that if you say 3 months, you give the money to the bank for 3 months, And when the 3 months is due, the bank will pay you the amount that you started the investment with together with the interest. And then if you want to do it again, we call it rollover. So it means you are doing it again. So that's how it works. So there are people that have been doing for treasury book for less than 10 years because they have been rolling it over and over again anytime it matures. Exactly. So they either decide to take the principal or decide to take the interest or decide to allow both to run for that number of years. At the moment, we started the year with interest around 28%, 29%. But the new government has decided to look at what is the market demanding. At the moment, we have a number of Ghanaians who don't have perhaps any business idea. They don't want to take high risks. So a number of people are going into treasury bills. And that means that government had a lot of requests more than what they were willing to sell. So government took advantage of that and they have been able to reduce the rate from 28%, which is cost to them. As we speak, the rate is around 15%. That is the latest rate on treasury bills. 15% for 91 days, 16% for 6 months, and then 18% for 1 year. So that's the latest treasury bill rate that we have in Ghana. If you want to look at the returns on treasury bills, you always have to look at it and tie it to inflation. So inflation becomes the base rate for looking at treasury bills. When the interest rate was 28%, inflation was around 23%. So it means that you are getting a buffer of about 5% on whatever investment you are doing. However, as we speak, inflation is still around 23%. However, treasury bill has dropped to what 15%.
Yeah.
And that means that investors are now beginning to get worried because if government does not try to bring inflation down, at some point in time, nobody will be willing to go into treasury bill because then the return or the net effect of my investment is a negative because I'm not earning anything on top of that. So that's what we call the treasury bills. And then the second level of low risk investment is what we call the fixed deposit. Now the fixed
Okay.
deposit is
Sorry, not to cut
sorry.
you, but I had a question on the treasury bill. So you said, let's say somebody invests for 6 months and they roll it over, and then they have the option of taking the interest and leaving the principal or rolling everything over. Is there like a set limit? Say after 5 years, you can roll it over, or you can just keep rolling it over all the time?
There's no limitation in terms of years of rollover. You can roll over till you are no more. So there's no limit. And also, treasury bill, there's no upper limit of, let's say, you can only do up to 1 million Ghana cedis. No, there's no upper limit. Any amount of money that you want to do, the minimum at the moment for most financial institutions is 1,000 cedis. So once you have 1,000 cedis and above, you can do all the way and roll it over as many times as you want without any limitation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can go on.
Okay. Then the second one is the fixed deposit, which I mentioned. So that's also similar to treasury bill. However, for fixed deposit, the money does not go to Bank of Ghana. The money stays with the bank that you have opened the account with. So it's like giving your money this time to the bank and not treasury bill, which you give to the to government. So for treasury bill, fixed deposit as well, the same duration. A number of banks start from 91 days to 6 months and the 1 year. Occasionally, you have some banks that even have 1 month fixed deposit. However, what you have seen is that for the last 2 to 3 years, the rates on fixed deposits are very low, very, very low. You go to a number of the banks and the rate ranges between 9% to 11%. That has even been the highest that you find around. So it means that most people don't really want to do fixed deposit at the moment. However, the good thing about fixed deposit is that if I fill the form today, the investment starts today. So if I'm to earn 12%, I earn it immediately the investment starts. But for treasury bills, sometimes if it's your first time, it can take you between 6 weeks before the investment will be bought for you. So it means that for 6 weeks, your money is doing nothing for you until the bank starts the investment. So if you want your interest to start running immediately, a number of investors will now go for the fixed deposit as an option to treasury bill. So these are the low risk investment that you find around in Ghana. And because it's low risk, the return is also what low. That's how investment works. If the risk is high, then you also get what? High returns. So if you want low risk, you don't want any wahala, you don't want any headache of whether you are losing your investment, then you can go for any of these two options. Then we go to the second level of risk, and that's what we call the short to medium term investment in Ghana. The first investment I want to talk around the short to medium term investment is what we call the personal investment plan. Personal investment plan. Now, personal investment plan is a long term kind of investment that you can do with pension companies in Ghana. If you have heard about compound interest, then pensions fund is the kind of investment that compounds. Now, when you say an investment compounds, what you are basically saying is that I start with, let's say, 100 cedis this month, and I get, let's say, 1 cedi on the 100 cedis. Next month, I'm not going to get the interest on the 100 cedis again. I'm going to get interest on the 100 cedis plus 1 cedi, which will become 101 cedis plus the interest that will be accruing in the second month. Now, when you do that over and over again, we are saying that your investment is compounding. And if you look at the compound interest, it's one of the easiest investment that you can do to beat inflation, the easiest investment you can do to grow your fund, because it becomes a consistent investment that you do over a period of time. So in Ghana, a number of these pension companies, they run for maybe 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. There are some that it has no limitation. You can decide to do it over and over again till you are done, or you decide that at some point you don't want to do again. Again, because it compounds, you can always go into the fund as and when you want it. So when you hear big time investment, it doesn't mean that because the investment is long, you have to wait for 3 months or let's say 6 years before you go into the fund. You can go into the fund anytime you want to go into the fund or you want to withdraw for a particular purpose. So that is also another option that you can consider if you want to go for long term. For example, you are outside Ghana, you want to be sending some monies to Ghana to be building up some fund because you have plans of settling back again maybe in 5 years time, 6 years time. If you have that particular intention, then a personal pension plan will be a better option than for you to go into, let's say, treasury bills, where you need to now get the investment rollover every 3 months or 6 months. So that's an option that you can consider as a short term to a medium term investment. Then the next one is what we call the mutual fund. So mutual fund is basically, if I go to a bank, for example, GT Bank today, and I want to do, let's say, 10,000 Ghana cedis fixed deposit. GT Bank will say that, oh, Charlie, 10,000 is not so much, so we'll give you, let's say, 5%. Then I'll say that, why you give 5%? They say, oh, it's because your volume is too small. I can then go to a company that does mutual fund. Mutual fund is a collective scheme. So they take funds from a lot of investors, put it together, and then invest on your behalf. So I can go to a mutual fund company and say that I want to do mutual fund with 10,000. Now the mutual fund company will take my 10,000, go and take someone's 7,000, go and take someone's 100,000, put it together. When they go back to GT Bank to do fixed deposit, because the volume is high, they can get, let's say, 23% to GT Bank. And that 23% affects me. It means that my 10,000 I have with the mutual fund, I'm not getting 23%. As against when I went alone with my 10,000, I got 5%. So that's what mutual fund is all about. And when they gather the funds, they invest in a number of investment options. Sometimes they invest in treasury bills, they can invest in bonds, they can invest in fixed deposit, they can invest in stocks, a number of them. And the reason why they are doing that is that, one, they want to reduce the risk of default, the risk to your investment. And two, they also want to grow your fund for you over a period of time. So if you're also looking at medium to short term, then mutual fund will be another option that you can choose when it comes to investments in Ghana. Within the same short to medium term is the topic that is making rounds in Ghana now, which is shares or buying stocks. And I'm happy that you mentioned a few of the recap of what we did last week when we talked about stocks. So in Ghana too, we do a lot of stocks here or shares. For the purpose of recap, shares basically means that you are giving your money to a company, and because you are giving your money to the company, become a part owner of that company or a shareholder of that company. Now, why are you doing this? You are doing this for two main reasons. The first reason is that you want to get profit out of the business. And here, I mean, if the company makes profit and the directors decide to share the profit, you as a shareholder, you get a portion of the profit that will be shared, which we call dividends. So you're investing in a company because you want to be enjoying some dividends. And sometimes these dividends will be enjoyed throughout your lifetime because the company is always making profit every year and you're enjoying dividends and your funds are also growing in that company. So that's the first benefit you get from buying shares. Now, the second benefit you get from buying shares is what we call capital gain. Now, capital gain basically means that the amount of money that you have invested in the company is growing. So let's say currently you have MTN shares around 3 cedi 16 pesos. So you want to buy one MTN share, is 3 cedi 16 pesos. Now I buy it today, 23rd March. And then by September, one share price has moved from 3 cedi 16 pesos to let's say 7 cedis. It means that the capital or the shares that I have, there has been a gain, there has been an increase in the share price. And that's what we call the capital gain. So it means that if I decide to sell the shares at that time, it means that I'm going to make profit between how much I bought the share of 3 cedi 16 pesos and how much I want to now sell it at 7 cedis. In between, that's the profit I make on the shares. So if you want to again buy shares in Ghana, you can go through that option if you want to look at the medium to short term. So at the moment, beginning of the year to now, the shares are performing very well. You can talk of MTN shares is still performing. Total share is also performing. Car Bank share is performing. I think New Gold issuers are also doing very well. And then EcoBank Transnational is also doing very well. These are shares that are doing well in Ghana. If you want to buy shares in Ghana, the process is very simple. You can't go to, let's say, MTN's office and go and tell MTN that, oh, Charlie, I want to buy shares. No, it's not done. You have to go through stockbrokers. So stockbrokers are licensed by Security and Exchange Commission to help people to buy shares. So when you go to any stockbroker, the first thing they will ask you to do is to open what we call a brokerage account, or let's say in quote, shares account. So the shares account is open in your name, and then it's done for you. Now, when the account is open for you, you then fund the account with how much you want to invest in shares. So let's say I have 20,000 cedis, I want to invest in shares. I put that 20,000 cedis into the brokerage account. And then I give the stockbroker an instruction that I want to buy MTN shares with the total 20,000 cedis that I have. And then it will be the duty of the stockbroker to ensure that they look for options of MTN shares on sale and then they buy it for you. Once they buy it for you, then you are given a certificate to show that indeed you have shares with MTN. Because MTN is not issuing new shares, when you fill the form, it does not mean that immediately you get some of the shares. It's based on buying and selling. So you may have someone who also has MTN shares, about 20,000 shares. Okay, this year, I think I want to reduce my risk in MTN, so I want to sell 2,000 of the shares. So the person places it on the market. I'm selling 2,000 of my shares with MTN. And then the stockbroker will get that investor and buy the shares from them, and you get it as a new shareholder of MTN. And the money goes to the old MTN shareholder. So sometimes I hear people say that, oh, I filled the form, I wanted to buy shares. It's taking like a month, 2 months. Yes, it's because the share may not be available at the time that you want to buy. It is only available when the company is issuing shares for the very first time. That one, they open the door, everybody can buy it. But once they stop or they are done with that, any activity that happens on the stock market is based on buying and selling. So people want to sell, you want to buy, you get it. So that's how you also buy shares in Ghana. Again, as I said from the beginning, you will need to have a Ghana card for the process to be completed before the shares can even be bought for you. So if you don't have a Ghana card, then that will be a problem for you if you want to go into that space. So that is what we call shares. And then there's
Okay, I
what
was
we
gonna.
call, yes, please
Sorry,
go
I was
on.
gonna ask. There was a question that came here. Some when you were talking about the treasury bill, somebody was asking, is there a way to add on to the investment, or once you, let's say you are signing up for 10,000 for treasury bill for 6 months, within the 6 months, are you able to top up, or it has to be that 10,000 for that time?
So you can top up in two ways. One is that if you take that do not roll over principal and interest, what it means is that when the investment matures, the money will come into your account. It will sit in your account. Once the money comes into your account, you can top up, you can add the money that you want to top up and redo it again. So that's the first
Uh,
option. So you have to wait for the investment to mature, then you add some money to it as a top up and redo it for you. The second option is that you don't need to wait for the investment to mature. You can run multiple treasury bills at the same time. So
okay.
I have one running, I have money with me now, I don't want to wait, I can go and start another one. Just about 2 weeks ago, one of my clients came to my inbox and the guy is running about 17 treasury bills at the same time. 17. Because he doesn't want to wait and do a top up. Once he gets the money, he does another one. So there's no limit of the number of treasury bills that you can run at a time. You can run it multiple times at the same time. Or if you want to do a top up because of compound interest, you can wait, it matures, you top up, and you redo it again.
Okay, that's useful information. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can continue. You wanted to talk about something else.
Yes, so the next one you can also do is that now we have a number of these stockbrokers who are also investing in foreign stocks or foreign bonds. So you have a number of these companies. You go to their platforms and you can invest in foreign like Google. You can invest in Amazon. You can invest in this. They have a platform that you can invest through that. Again, if you are someone who wants to take medium to high risks because of how volatile the investment runs, then you can also go into that particular space if you want to do that. So you have the platform, they open an account for you on that platform, then you can invest on the platform, and then it will be their duty to make sure they put the money into any of these stocks that are performing, and you get returns out of that. I invested in one of the platforms that they call the Eurobond. I just put in something small, and I went to check about 2 weeks ago. I realized that my investment has even dropped. The principal that started the investment with has dropped. But that's how the market works. So I expect that one day it will pick up again. So if you have the kind of heart to do multiple investments and to take risks, then you can consider also doing the local bond through these platforms on any of the platforms that we have in Ghana. So IC Security, Petra Trust, these are all very good platforms that you can invest in bonds on that. And then beyond these ones, then you can go into the assets as investment, like the houses, the lands that you can buy. These are all asset kind of investment that you can do in Ghana. So you hear of a new site springing up, you can quickly get there, buy some two plots, one acre, wait for some few months or years, maybe a year or two. You can decide to develop it a little and resell it. That's also another kind of investment that you can do in Ghana. Or you can do business, or you can also decide to get an opportunity to sell something, offer a service. However, I always advise Ghanaians outside the country that if you want to do any business in Ghana and you are not stationed here, you don't have somebody to manage it for you. I always advise, based on my experience, I'm a Ghanaian, I stay in Ghana, most of it are not, I would advise you to do that. I know of too many stories of people losing their money, too many stories. So if unless you have somebody to manage it well for you in your absence, then you do that. Otherwise, don't expect to get very good returns whilst you are not here to manage it yourself. So, I mean, in summary, these are some of the investment that you can consider, whether you stay in Ghana, you are outside, or either ways. you can consider any of this. Depend on the risks that you want to take and how much you have to start the process. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like your honesty with people going back home for businesses. And sometimes when you say it, it's like, why? You think people are making it in Ghana? I'm like, you hear somebody making it in Ghana, but you don't know what is behind. That person may have found somebody that is trustworthy to leave the business with. But in your case, do you have that? And if you don't have that, you have a good plan, you have all the goals and ambition and all that, but you cannot get there like somebody has done it because your support system is different. Because if you go open the company and give it to somebody else, like your friend, or you think, oh, you are a manager, you just employ people, there's always a way that people would dupe you. There are people that book cars for people to use as Uber, and these drivers will turn off the app. They will do whatever they will do, but they will still be working with the car. So at the end of the day, you think you are investing in a ride share business, but you are not getting any return on it. So I'm glad that you were also honest about it. Somebody was also asking the treasury bill, how much you can start. I think you did mention that. Hold on. How much they can start
Yes,
treasury bill.
yeah, I think I mentioned that. So for most banks, the minimum to start is 1,000 cedis and above. So once
Thousand.
you have 1,000 Ghana cedis and above, you can start treasury bills in Ghana.
Okay. And somebody was asking like the MTN stock, how much and what's their 5 year return? Oh, that one I don't know if you can. I don't know if you know
Yeah, so
the
for
five.
returns on shares, you can't easily predict because the performance of the shares is based on what happens within the year. So you can't say that for the next 5 years I'm going to get, let's say, 100%, 20%. That's not how shares work. However, you can look at historical records to make some inference. So when the MTN started, a share price was 70 pesos. Now it is
Oh,
3 cedi 16 pesos. So you can say that, okay, within the period it has grown from 70 pesos to 3 cedi 16 pesos. However, it does not mean that every year it was growing. There are years that the price could stay stable for the whole year. You don't make anything out of that. The only thing you enjoy will be the dividends that will be paid by MTN. So when you are going into this kind of investment of shares, you don't go into it with the mindset as if you are doing treasury bills where your return is guaranteed. You know that I'm getting 15%. Shares do not work that way. Shares is based on the performance of the stock on the market, the performance of the company itself, even the market reaction to what happens to the business can affect people buying or selling the shares. So all these things can come into play to do that. So let's take, for example, last year. Last year, the highest performing stock on the Ghana Stock Exchange was Unilever. Unilever's
oh,
capital gain was over 100% for 1 year, over 100%. MTN was around 8 something percent, GCB was around 8 something percent, EcoBank was around 8 something percent. It means that within 1 year, the stock price increased by almost 100% for a number of these stocks. It does not mean that this year it will be another 100%. It can be more, it can be less, it can be 0%. So you keep that in mind, and that's why before you buy the shares, you always ensure that you get insight from stockbrokers. I am not a stockbroker, so you get insight from stockbrokers who will now educate you. They have the track record, they have insight into whether this share will perform well or not. So they will advise you that, okay, based on our expertise, we think that you can consider this share or that share. It will surprise you that sometimes they will tell you that consider this share as an option. But you look at the last 4 years, that share has not performed. But they know what they are seeing and for which they are asking you to buy it now. So that when it goes up and people are now rushing in, you would have enjoyed the capital gain over the period of time. So when you're buying shares, you are going into any kind of investment, it's always good to get insight. It's always good to get advice from people who are within the space there, the market players, before you jump into it. Otherwise, you rush and jump into it, and you realize that it is not as you saw it from outside. It may be different as you have jumped into it.
okay. And I wanted to ask, is there like an app where people can just download and get on the stocks, or they just have to go to the stockbrokers? And then where would they be? Do they have their separate office?
Okay, so luckily for us, we have a number of these stockbrokers who have apps that you can download and start the process. So companies like IC Wealth, Republic Securities,
Okay.
Carl Asset Brokers. These are all companies that they have apps. So you go to their website, you download the app, and then you start the process of registering to buy the shares. You don't need to be in Ghana physically to do that. Even if you don't want to do an app, they have contact online that you can easily get in touch with them. They'll help you through the process. They'll help you to fill the form, and then you start the process from there. So it's not very, very difficult to do that. But as I said, you need to get insight into that. You need to have a Ghana card to start the process. Otherwise, no matter what you do, you can't be able to invest in the stocks in Ghana.
Yeah. Okay, then I had another question. What's the currency? So let's say somebody is staying outside Ghana and wants to invest. Does it always have to be cedis, or they can invest foreign currency like dollar or pounds or euro?
If you want to invest in Ghana through the financial system, you can only do it in cedis. You
In
can't do it
cedis.
in
Okay.
foreign currency. It's not done anywhere. Every country want to have their investment in their home country, in home country's currency, because the moment you allow foreign currency to be going through your investment, it puts so much pressure on your local currency. So you can't do that. However, if you want to do the forex and those things, then you can convert the CD into dollar and be able to do it. Or if you have a dollar account, you can do that in the foreign currency. But if it's through the Ghanaian system, it's only in cedis. You can't do dollar. If you have a dollar account in Ghana, you don't earn anything on it. There's no interest earned on it. The money will just be sitting in your account with no interest.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's good to know. Because I was having conversation with people, and then some were not sure if they can invest in dollar or in cedis. Because I remember some time ago when I wanted to open an account, there was this big bank. Then they're like, "No, we only open the account for you in cedis." So you'd have to convert. And I think that's where sometimes, if the economy is not stable, it becomes a problem. Because let's say now the dollar is 14, then you go invest in treasury bill, and then you are getting 18%, or is dropping. And then next month you wake up and the dollar is 20 cedis. So it means even by converting the dollar to cedis at that time, then the value has reduced, and then the rate too will be low. So that's one something that people also need to consider, like the money that you're going to convert and the economy and all that. And I think I saw you post something on the government, people angry with the government on investment something.
Yes. So before I get there, let me just add a few to what you just said. So if you are outside Ghana, you want to come and invest here, there are two sides that you need to consider. There are people that want to come and invest here because they want to recoup their money back into the, let's say, dollars or pounds. That kind of investment has a different mindset than if you want to invest in Ghana and the intention is that the investment should stay in Ghana, because if you come back to Ghana, you're going to use that money. There are two different mindsets. If you
Okay.
want to invest in Ghana and cash out in the foreign currency, that is where the discussion of exchange rate comes in. Because if you want to recoup it back, then obviously if the exchange rate is not working well, you'll be able to make so much in Ghana. But when you take it back to the home country or foreign country, you are not getting anything because your money can even go down. However, if you are having the intention of keeping the money in Ghana, then exchange rate does not come in. What comes in is inflation. So let's
Okay.
understand the two things. So inflation, because the money is sitting in Ghana. You want the returns of that investment to be able to do something beyond the loss of value, which is inflation. So therefore, you want returns that's above inflation, and the money will stay and grow in Ghana. However, if I want to recoup the money back into, let's say, America or the UK, Canada, then exchange rate will come in. And that means that if I send $10,000, I invested for 2 years. I want my $10,000 back. And no matter how much I've made, when I converted it into dollars, I got 9,000. Then that's a bad investment that you have done. In that case, you did not take the right investment decision. So we need to keep that at the back of our minds as we go into that. Now, to the other question that you asked on the Ghanaians are angry. So I said that beginning of the year, the interest was around 28%. And then people were buying the investment. Now, inflation is still 23%, but the rate has dropped to 15%. Effectively, what government is telling investors is that we have the means. We can determine whatever we want to do. It's either you do the treasury bills or in quote, you get out. So people are saying that, okay, if you don't want to listen to us and the rate are still coming down, then it's better we keep our money, fold our arms and wait. The day you decide to increase your rate, then we'll join you. However, at the moment, it will seem like if investors are doing that, investors are going to enjoy for now. But I always ask people, assuming government is going to make the rate stay as it is for let's say 3 months, and you keep the money in your account for the 3 months, between you and the government, who has lost? It's you. Because you have kept the money, you didn't get anything out of that. So even if the interest is 10%, and we have seen it in the past, 2025, 2016, even 2014, the rate was around 12% for a number of months. People were still doing investment. So what you should do is at the moment, don't keep the money, just invest. However, I have said a number of times that government is trading on just grounds. The grounds they are trading is that if people decide that, okay, if you're not going to do treasury bills, we want other investment that we can do to keep the value of our money. What you realize is that a number of people will begin to switch to dollars. People will buy dollars as a safe haven of investment. And when that happens, what you are trying to prevent is what will happen. You want to bring the cost of borrowing lower as a government. However, the drivers of that, which includes exchange rate, will now begin to deteriorate because now many people are using a lot of cedis to chase the fewer dollars in the system. We have dollar around 15 cedis now. If care is not taken, that can be jumping to 17, 18, 19, and that will put more pressure on inflation. And government at some point in time will be forced to now begin to increase treasury bill rates. By that time, people have already locked their investment in dollars and they will not come back now. So it's a dicey situation that government is playing with. But at the moment, what I see and I feel is that people are beginning to hold on to their new investment in treasury bills and even rollovers. They are waiting for government to increase before they go into the market again. And government should be very careful about that.
Oh, okay. See, everybody is good at their field though, because the way he's explaining it, I didn't even think about it, and that's what King is saying that economics 101, boss, you know your job. Like it makes so much sense when you talk about it this way, because now if they are not investing in the treasury bill, then they'll go and buy dollars. So now there will be pressure on the dollar that will go up. Oh, okay, makes sense. And then I also agree with what you're saying. Instead of leaving the money in your account and you are not earning even 1% or 2%, why don't you just invest it in the treasury bill, even if it's reduced from 20 something to 15? At least you are getting something instead of the money just lying down and not doing anything. And that's a very good point. And I think that is because we downplay money. You see, these are brofo. Even if it's $2, they go to the store, and this one is $3, this one is $4. And if they are the same thing, they will buy the $3 because they say it adds up. But for us, it's like, oh, it's just 10 cedis, it's just 20 cedis, so it's not much. But if you add 10 and 10 and 10 and 10, then you are going into hundreds and thousands. And so that's some good information. And last week we were talking about 401k and other pension plans like that. What's the equivalent in Ghana that people that are working can contribute every month towards their pension? Is there anything?
Yes, so in Ghana, we have a number of pension schemes. So there's what we call the tier one, then we have tier two, we have provident fund, and then we have the personal pension. So if you are in the formal sector, your employer pays what we call the tier one on your behalf. Now, tier one directly, and that is the amount of money that needs to be paying to you when you go on retirement. So you go on retirement every month, they pay a certain amount of money to you monthly as a way of supporting your living. So we call it tier one. So your employer has a certain percentage you pay. You also have a certain percentage you pay. Then we have what we call the tier two. The tier two is also contributed partly by your employer, and you also contribute a portion of that. And
Okay.
that also goes into that fund. So you go on retirement. Now, when you go on retirement, that tier two is paid to you as a lump sum. So let's say you contributed and you have 400,000 cedis into the tier two. It will be paid to you once you go on retirement. So we call it lump sum. It's paid to you. That is tier two. Again, that's also for former employment. Then there's what we call the provident fund. Provident fund is basically a contribution that your employer also makes, and you also contribute a portion of that into a pension fund that you have control over. For that particular provident fund, you don't need to get to age 60 before you have access to that money.
Okay.
For then, if you do it and you go for 10 years without any withdrawal, you don't suffer any tax on it after 10 years. But if you go into the fund within 10 years, you want to make withdrawal within 10 years, then a tax will be applied to every withdrawal that you make. But as I said, it is not tied to you getting to 60 years. So employer contributes, you also contribute, but there's a tax if you withdraw before 10 years. So that's a provident fund through the former employment. Now the last one is what I explained earlier on, which is the personal pension plan, where you sign up personally to be doing the pension yourself, which goes for sometimes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So every month you contribute into that fund. You have access to that fund anytime you want it. Unlike the provident fund where there's a tax, this one, when you go into it, there's no tax. So you can go into it anytime. So for example, someone will say, I want to be able to build, let's say, 1 million Ghana cedis for the next 15 years. So they'll calculate and tell you that if you want 1 million, 15 years, then you need to be, let's say, paying 300 cedis every month till that time. So that's what we call the personal pension plan. You can go into it anytime you need money. However, anytime you go into it, it affects your investment. Your target that you set for yourself, it affects you. You can top up, you can increase the amount you are contributing. Anytime you even have lump sum, you can go and top it up into the fund, and the fund will continue to grow. So these are the four sort of investment or retirement fund that we have in Ghana. That's tier one, tier two, provident fund, and then personal pension.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Maybe I'll give you the last question and I'll let you go. Ken is asking, what's the average growth rate of the provident funds? By how much can it grow yearly?
So the average returns on provident fund that I've seen for a number of institutions is around 15% to 18% annually. So between 15 to 18% annual growth is what we see around most of the provident fund that we have in Ghana. And even the personal pension, it works around the same rate, 15 to 18% annually. And it compounds, as I said, it goes with compound interest.
Okay. So everybody here, please go follow him. Are you open to DMs and people coming for consultation? Because it looks
Yes,
like
please,
at
I
this
do
point,
that. Yes, I do that a lot.
it looks like at this point we all have questions that will come to you and ask. So, guys, please follow him. Go watch his videos. I found him right here on TikTok. I was just searching like investment in Ghana, people that create content on investment in Ghana, and then your page popped up. So I ran through your videos, and then I think I saw Pickens Hub. He even joined, and then he dropped. So thank you so much. I can't really thank you enough. And I'm glad TikTok will save this video so I can make screen recordings and post later, or even if I can post on YouTube with your permission or something, so that the people that were late today to the class, they can come here and watch it later. But if everybody followed him and sent him messages and booked for consultation, then he'll be available to answer questions. If I live abroad and want financial growth and security, what's your advice? Oh, Rachel, looks like you were late. There are so many options: treasury bill, fixed deposits, stocks and shares and all that. So if you want to follow him and send him a question to his DM, because he has to run. So I don't want to keep him waiting here. So I would invite other people if they want to come up for us to continue the discussion. But I'm really
Okay.
grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much. We won't
Thank you
hold
very
you.
much. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll connect again sometime.
His TikTok account is right here. Ghana's number one financial planner. So Ima, you can click on his name right now and follow him before he drops. And then Richmond, yeah, you are late. Just follow him and send him a DM with your questions and everything. Okay. Um.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure we'll connect again. I have to jump
Yeah.
off.
Yes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Ernest, follow him and ask your questions. The rates the bank applies when you buy T bills, is it discounted or interest? You are saying it has changed. It used to be 20 something percent.